Discover the best in local business news with a subscription to the IBJ and Inside Indiana Business. For a limited time, try us out for just $1 a week for 8 weeks. Claim this limited time offer now at ibj.com/trial offer.
This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Tuesday, March 10th, 2026. I'm Alex Braun. Governor Mike Braun's administration has proposed charging $15.60 in tolls to drive a car across Indiana on Interstate 70 in order to pay for widening all of that highway to 6 lanes. The state's application seeking federal approval for I-70 tolling and outlining $6.5 billion in improvements was released Monday. Drivers would face paying I-70 tolls starting in early 2029, with the highway upgrades being done over 8 to 10 years, according to the application to the Federal Highway Administration. Those proposed rates are consistent with what is currently charged on the Indiana Toll Road in northern Indiana. The prospect of additional tolling is likely to face public controversy, but Braun and some Republican legislators have said they see no alternative if the state is going to take on such big-ticket projects. GE Aerospace on Monday announced plans to invest a total of $65 million at 3 locations in Indiana, part of an overall $1 billion investment in its U.S. operations. The airplane engine manufacturer said the investment is part of a continued effort to accelerate engine deliveries, ramp up production of parts, and strengthen defense production to keep pace with military demand. The largest share of the investment is $43 million for GE Aerospace's plant in Indianapolis, with $15 million going to its Terre Haute facility and $7 million being invested in Lafayette. The former director of development and communications for the largest domestic violence shelter in the state has been named president and CEO of Cancer Support Community Indiana. Heather Perry joins the nonprofit after nearly 6 years at the Julian Center in Indianapolis. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Thanks for listening to this IBJ Media podcast. You're probably going to remember this ad. Do you know why? Podcast advertising works. 85% of listeners recalled hearing an ad during a podcast, and 70% of podcast listeners have acted after hearing an ad. So whether you're looking to be heard across the entire IBJ Media Podcast Network, sponsor one of our shows, or just start with a 30-second ad, IBJ Media can help. Contact advertise@ibj.com to learn more.
Issues surrounding inspection results at the Catalent Indiana plant continue to cause problems for drug makers, though one client is expressing optimism for the future. IIB's Aubriana Herron has more.
In November, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration sent a letter to the CEO of Denmark-based drug maker Novo Nordisk over what it calls significant violations at the Bloomington plant, a third-party fill-finish facility that fills vials for pharmaceutical companies. Novo Nordisk acquired the plant in December 2024. In its letter, the FDA said the plant's operations did not meet current good manufacturing practice regulations for finished pharmaceuticals, citing inspections that found more than 20 instances of cat hair being found around the stoppers of some vials that may have come in contact with drug products. Massachusetts-based biopharmaceutical company Scholar Rock contracted the Catalent Indiana plant to fill its drug that has been developed for the treatment of children and adults with spinal muscular atrophy. In its quarterly earnings report this month, Scholar Rock said the FDA recently completed a constructive meeting with Catalent Indiana that included discussion of the remediation progress at the plant. The company said there were no additional corrective actions requested by the FDA. Scholar Rock said it plans to resubmit its biologics license application for the drug with the FDA after a successful FDA reinspection of Catalent Indiana, but did not indicate when that might occur. Novo Nordisk did not respond to a request for comment from Inside Indiana Business. Aubriana Herron, Inside Indiana Business Radio.
The Fort Wayne Redevelopment Commission approved a professional services agreement Monday with Price Brothers Development to create a plan for the city's North River District. Along with approving the agreement, the commission committed over $182,000 to the planning work, matching a commitment previously made by the Allen County Fort Wayne Capital Improvement Board. With the commission's approval in place, Kansas City-based Price Brothers will begin work immediately on a blueprint for the development and funding of the 29-acre North River site, which is expected to include the $60 million North River Fieldhouse as well as residential and commercial space. A popular seafood truck made its debut in Mishawaka last weekend, drawing long lines and curious diners eager to try authentic Maine lobster. California-based Cousins Maine Lobster expanded into the northern Indiana market with a locally operated food truck run by brothers-in-law Hussein Karani and Al Obaid. Karani said the early response has been positive.
I mean, you don't see a lot of, quality Maine lobster in many places, right? In Indiana or a lot, even in the Midwest in general, you know what I mean? And so it just felt like such a good idea. And, a few months later, we kind of showed interest and filled out a form online saying that we were interested in franchising. And, the rest was history.
The South Bend truck will travel to different cities and neighborhoods throughout the region, with locations announced online and on social media. Outgoing Indiana State Fair Commission Executive Director Cindy Hoy is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports and entertainment, and beyond. Available now on the IBJ Media app or your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.
I'm Tiffany Souter, mom of four, wife, entrepreneur, and host of the Life of And podcast. For years, I built my life with brute force, a successful business, a growing family, and absolutely zero margin. I was tired, snappy, and felt constantly behind, and I was too afraid to admit it. Everything changed when I stopped trying to do more and started building systems that actually worked for my real life. If you too are craving more peace, more presence, and just more time for you, I'd love for you to join me on the Life of And. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast app or listen at ibjpodcast.com.
Your commute just got smarter. Turn drive time into growth time. The IBJ Media Podcast Network gives you front row access to leaders shaping Indiana's economy, culture, and future. No filler, just smart, relevant, local storytelling you won't get anywhere else. Find all of our shows by searching IBJ Media in your podcast app or visit ibjpodcasts.com.